Hello and welcome to Dave's Model of the Month review for June. This one is a real special one. I've been meaning to do this for a few weeks now, but the layout's been kind of shut to train traffic as I've been doing a bit of weathering and ballasting on the tracks, and I like to keep all the locals out of the way when I'm doing that. But I finished that now, and it's time to get this beast out of its box and see what it can do. It will come as no surprise to many of you that the model in the box is in fact the British Rail Advanced Passenger Train Experimental. This is from Locomotion Models in conjunction with manufacturer Rapido, and these were basically built to order, and I ordered this one 18 months to 2 years ago, and let's have a look inside the box. It's a sizable box for really what is a sizable model. There is an insert there for a booklet, but I'm in the process of reading that just now, so I've got it downstairs. What I'll say is there's a certificate. I am number 390 of 2000. Don't suppose it really matters what number you are. Extensive parts list, and all the models, all the parts are really well wrapped up in their clamshell sleeves. Get one out there. Oh, this is one of the driving cars, or the power cars. Very weighty. So let's get them out and assemble this train and have a look. One thing I will point out is that this booklet comes with the train, and the language on it's pretty direct. You have to read this before you get stuck in about assembling this model, and I've read through it. It's actually, parts of it are quite hilarious. The language that's used, it's written with a good sense of humour, and you know, it's also very clear, so I've hopefully managed to understand what is required to put this model together, so I'll go and do that now. Okay, what has struck me, just taking it out of the protective sleeves, is one, how well securely packed it was. You know, nothing has been damaged in transit, which is amazing considering the miles that it's travelled to get here. And two, the quality of the finish and the paint finish is superb. They really have captured the silver aluminium body colour very well, and the departmental BR blue has really been captured. In my opinion, spot on, looking at some photographs and some images in the illustrated booklet that you get with the pack. It really is a well built model. One thing I will say is the nose was a separately fitted part on the real thing, and it's been separately fitted here, and perhaps it's, if I'm being nitpicky, it doesn't quite line up, as you can maybe see from the gaps there. Maybe the real one was like that. I've not seen the real one up close since it was restored, to be honest. I'm nitpicking, but you know, the rest of it is superb. Another thing that struck me is how complex the tilt mechanism is. This is just on one end of the power car PC2, and I'm going to assemble this with great care, not to damage any of it. Okay, here are the two noses of the power cars. The power cars are numbered PC1 and PC2, by the way. When the model arrived and I took it out for close inspection, I actually thought I had received a damaged one, because the one on the left only has one windscreen wiper and the one on the right has two. This is in fact prototypically correct, because one of them did only have one windscreen wiper. Now I thought at the time maybe they're just testing different configurations to see if they require two, etc. But in fact the story goes that one was broken off in a bird strike, so only one remained, and they never bothered replacing it or fitting it again. So that's the story that I've read. Whether it's 100% true or not, I don't know, but you know, that's good research detail from Rapido to get that little touch correct. You get a bag of spares, by the way, for all the wee bits and bobs, and there's extra windscreen wipers in it, should they break off in the future. But you know, that's handy as well, getting a wee bits of spares. And take note, Hornby and Bachmann, that, you know, supplying spares of the little bits of detail isn't a bad thing, and maybe they should look to do that as well. If they don't supply them, at least actually have facilities in their supplies to you know, send out replacements if required. Okay, here we have it on the tracks, and it's all been assembled. It was fiddly. The joins are there, and these dividers clip on, but it took me about 20 minutes, half an hour to assemble the 4-coach train. I didn't want to push too hard and snap bits, and I was, to put it bluntly, bricking myself in case I snapped something or broke it. But it does click into place. Hopefully it'll get easier with the more times you do it, and I don't anticipate taking it apart and putting it together often, but if I do, at least I've managed to do it once, and it should be easier the second time round. Fingers crossed anyway. So there it's sitting in all its splendour. It's not been started up yet. I've not actually started it up since I bought it, so it's still sitting stationary, lifeless on the track. If you just look at it though, it must have looked like something else back in the early 70s when this thing rolled out the workshops. You know, the aluminium construction, designed by aeronautical engineers, so they know it's heavily influenced by, you know, the jet age, with its sweeping lines, smooth curves. You know, you can see where the designers' background lay when they designed this, and obviously there are a lot of challenges to meet with the tilt mechanism and aerodynamics and reaching magical speeds. This particular prototype did its record-breaking run in, I think it was August 1975, when it reached 152.3 miles per hour, which is a record to this day for an unelectrified train in the UK. So it still stands today as the fastest. These trials took place between July and August 1975 on the Great Western, and they were high-speed runs to see how it handled at high speeds. So, you know, back in the mid-70s there was the dream of 155-mile-an-hour travel, and here we are 40 years later. We're still trundling along at 125 miles an hour. It seems quite bizarre. I'll not go into too much detail about the actual prototype, but you know, it was beset with problems through its development and testing. You know, the unions refused to allow drivers to test it because there's only one seat in the cab. They also did that with the new HST that was coming on stream at the same time. So they really held up testing for a while the unions, you know, negotiated with British Rail. You know, we're back in the 70s here. I wasn't around, but you know, the unions tended to rule this country, and you know, train development was no exception. There was issues with the bogies because of their advanced design with the tilt mechanism. It really was a train before its time, and you know, considering the budget that it had at the time, and compare it to the Concorde project, you know, this was, you know, they probably spent more on the undercarriage development of the Concorde than they did in the entire APT project, which is shameful, really. But you know, we got one great icon out of it in Concorde. Sadly, we couldn't make it two with the APT, but you know, it was a thing of its time, ahead of its time, and you know, we all remember the HST winning the battle against the APT, but you know, it could have been so different if this was given the funding at the time that it was required to develop such a groundbreaking piece of railway design. Okay, as I said earlier, the model is very well detailed. You know, a couple of wee things to note is the grab rails and the handle on the door. Underneath the door you've got a folding out step It doesn't work, but that's where the folding out step would have been for the driver to access the cab. The bogies are very well detailed. They're picked out in the same colour of blue as the stripe along the body. Not quite sure why, but you know, that's what it was in the real thing. The vents and the doors on the side of the body are very well detailed, and there is absolutely thousands upon thousands of rivet detail. And it really is stunning. It's got the exhausts for the gas turbine engines at the top, which I believe were powered by British Leyland. So again, I'm surprised they managed to get the train finished, because they were always going on strike. You know, so it was gas turbine. Again, that was something revolutionary for the time. Could you imagine the sound that made when it drew into King's Cross with the covered roof and the echo? I mean, that must have turned a few heads and got a few train spotters, you know, salivating. Move further along, there is 2 coaches fully lit. One's a test bed kind of coach with computer banks, and another one that's got a small seating compartment in it, just as the real one did. It was for VIPs, you know, the head of British Rail Board, etc., to go and test the train and feel the tilt mechanism. And as we get further around the layout with the train, I'll be able to get into the other side of this carriage, where they've got a bank of computer screens with flashing lights and everything. It really is impressive. The real one, I think, had tinted glass, but this one's not, to allow you to see the inside detail, which is fair enough. What's the point in tinting it so you can't see all the wonders of the interior? Rapido really have done a great job. This is the first encounter I've had with a Rapido model, and let's just say interiors do put the Hornby and the Bachmann rolling stock to shame. But then again, you know, this is a high-end model that they've produced, so I'm not going to bash Hornby for their, you know, the interiors. They're Mark IVs and Mark III coaches. They do the job, but this thing is a step above in terms of detail. It really is. I'd hate to imagine what these coaches were to buy individually if you were, you know, if they were producing them, like, you know, the Mark IIIs and stuff. Which actually leads me nicely on to my next point. I purchased the extra trailing car. If it had been running service, it might have had more trailing cars on it. I bought a spare, just so I can run an extra coach on the train, and it's also a good spare in case something, you know, some mishap happens to one of the trailing cars that I've got. It would, you know, fit in and slot in instead of it. So yeah, I bought that. It wasn't cheap, and I did think after, what did I bother doing that for? But at least I've got it now, and it's always there. You know, over £300 for the set, and this is a sound fitted model. You know, it really is a bargain if you think, considering the amount of work and development that's got into it. So I didn't grumble about paying an extra £50 odd for an extra coach. I really treated myself to this. Okay, let's start her up and see what she can do. Okay, I've just rolled her into the station. What I'll do now is I'll go through the sound functions, and I'll detail them along the bottom of the screen. But first of all, we've got F1, which is the gas turbine unit, and you'll hear one set start up, and then you'll hear another set start up soon after. Okay, that's me started her up and closed her down. And watch when I change direction how the headlights fade out and then the red ones come on. You know, they're more realistic than the sudden off, sudden on of the you know, Hornby Bachmann models. Watch this. That's quite a neat little touch. Okay, so there's me taking you through the sounds. What I'll do now is I'll do some layout running. It's arrived at Dean Park Station on its latest high-speed test run. It does clear the tracks. I've checked for obstacles. It fits through my Waverley tunnels, just in some cases, with the overhang from the nose, which is actually ridiculously large. You know, I don't know how they were going to cope with that on British Rail when, if they'd introduced this model into service, if the overhangs in real life would have been an issue. However, it clears these two tracks on the main line on the lower, and it clears the two upper mains, and I've just attested the outer main line now on the lower section. That'll be it. But it's good to know that it can run around the layout without them demolishing things. So enjoy the running, and any comments, please add them to the bottom of the video. Cheers!
Beginning a series of slow-speed runs at Derby, British Rail's advanced passenger train is intended for speeds of more than 150 miles an hour. The team of research engineers who designed the train are there to check on the behaviour of their latest creation. The new suspension and tilting system is made specially to cope with the much higher speeds of the future. British Rail have plans already for a high-speed train to take over an intercity route towards the end of the year.